isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will.
Welcome to Perspective, a podcast for wedding creatives, where we sit down often with a special guest and talk about our many years of experience in the wedding industry so that you can learn from us and grow your wedding business. Hi, I'm Simon.
And I'm Greg.
Together, we are Cinemate Films, two Scottish-based wedding filmmakers who love nothing more than drinking coffee, black please, and talking to others in the wedding industry. This episode is of course sponsored by With Jack, but I'll get into that a little bit later in the show. Greg, did you know that today's guest I pulled out of the flames of Mordor itself? But tell our listeners who we're speaking to today.
We are speaking to Andrew Keher. Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Hello.
Good morning.
Andrew.
Hello, guys.
Good morning. How are you doing, sir?
The sun is shining. Summer is on the way.
Is sweet.
It is all good.
Yes.
Now, is this proper spring yet? Or is this like false spring? I've heard of that phrase.
False.
Are we getting another winter soon?
Apparently.
Every day that I don't wear my coat to walk the dog, I am forced to wear my coat the next day. So it's my fault. I keep on getting overexcited and I keep on getting ahead of myself. So it's my fault. The last time that this happened, I bought some garden furniture and I gave us the worst summer in recorded history, I believe it was. So yeah, that's my fault as well. So
yeah. All right. Well, I mean, to be fair, maybe that's a good thing for us. Pasty, pale.
Don't buy a
Scottish
barbecue
folk.
this year. Do not buy one.
no, I'm not risking anything. No, I'm not doing it. I've learned my lesson. Just going to keep my head down and let everyone enjoy themselves.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday we were at the That Videographers conference, and it was a really good one. It was the first time I have walked around the city this year with being blasted by the sun, and I realized I am in danger of being burnt within like 2 minutes. It was ridiculous. Anyway.
Before we get too far into things, why don't we let yourself introduce yourself? Why don't you introduce yourself to the guests in case they've not heard of you?
Yes.
So my name's Andrew and I'm a wedding photographer based in Liverpool in the northwest of England. I've been a wedding photographer for 11 years. I've stopped counting. I've shot a lot of weddings in a lot of places. I think I'm up to about number 400 now. And I've started dabbling with social media a little bit more over the last 12 months. And it's kind of pivoted where I am as a small business. Mm-hmm. It's led to a few changes. It's got a few things percolating in my mind. And so I've started on this little journey of helping other wedding suppliers with their social media, with their content creation, with their reels essentially on Instagram. And I'm at the very beginning of a new direction. So I'm still a wedding photographer. I'm still doing my thing there, but the social media side of things is where I'm finding some success, and it's possibly where a few people may have seen me over the last 12 months popping up, talking about the wedding industry and the problems that we all face.
I mean, I won't lie, that's how I discovered you on TikTok. What were you doing? I cannot remember the very first post I saw. It was a while ago, but I just thought the tone and just the kind of comedy aspect to your posts in regards to the things that us wedding creatives go through, I thought was just...
Yeah, it resonated.
It resonated quite well.
Yeah. So you say, in terms of your social media and the sort of reels and stuff that you create, you've only been doing that style and that sort of thing for about a year or so? Is that?
Yes. So I started in January 2024, January the 1st. That was a New Year's resolution. I know we all have a few every now and then.
Yep.
And my New Year's resolution was to not go out of business in 2024 because my bookings were down. I didn't have many inquiries coming through, didn't have much work on. And I think 2024 was the year when I realized finally the penny dropped that just being the best wedding photographer in the world wasn't going to get me the business. Okay, that's what I thought. I'm the best. My photographs are clearly amazing, and if people saw my photographs, they'd instantly book me. But for some reason, the work wasn't coming in, and so I had to have a bit of soul searching. And I thought, okay, yeah, I can be the absolute best at what I do, but if no one sees my photographs, then unfortunately, Dave and Kev down the road are going to get a look in ahead of me. So yeah, I was staring down the barrel of looking for something else to do in 2024. So I thought, finally, let's look at it. I've spent all my money now, my lovely bounce back loan. I've spent it all on a new camera. That wasn't bringing the business in, which is weird because I always thought, the more money that you throw at equipment, then the better the better the product and the more work that you get in. But that tactic didn't seem to pay off at the end of 2023, so I was a bit confused about that. So I had a little bit of money left from the government, so I thought, why not? I'll spend that. I'll invest it in a new website, new branding. So I spent quite a few £1,000s on having a real designer come in and work with me and, really get to grips with what my brand was and where I saw myself in the future. Unfortunately, I didn't know what my brand was and I didn't have much of a personality to talk about. And it ended up just being an exercise in spending lots of money on mood boards and fonts and lovely colours. And when I made that, when I paid that money for that, I thought, well, I've got the new camera, I've got the new website. This is it. This is big leagues now. It's going to be me and Fer Juaristi in Mexico. We're going to be, that's us now, best buddies. We'll be shooting weddings together. And the work still didn't come in. And I thought, oh shoot. Is this a PG podcast, by the way, or am I allowed to slip into my shit? So, oh shit, there I am. New camera, new website, no bookings. And someone mentioned that social media was where all my customers were, all my clients. And I'd been posting on Instagram since 2014. I think if you click on your profile picture on Instagram, it tells you when you've joined. I was in there quite early, posting my photographs, writing poetry, pretending that I was this mysterious creative artist and that I was a lot cooler than what I really was. So I'm there and posting my photographs, and I built up a decent following over 10 years. But as I saw from other people, Instagram changed the way that it did things, and you could no longer post a photograph on the toilet and comment on 10 people's pages, on 10 other people's posts, and grow an enormous engaged following. So Reels were these new things to me that came out 3 years previously, but which I'd never really dabbled in. So I thought, let's give it a shot. Let's try something. I've never really shown my face on camera before. I don't like my voice. I don't like my body language. I don't think I've got anything to say. And the thought of having to sell all my cameras and close down my shiny new website kind of spurred me into action and said, right, no, if you don't try something, that's the end. That is the end of this little creative journey. So sod it. I thought, let's go out. Let's take the dog for a walk. Let's take the camera, a little tripod, and see what I can come up with. So I wandered off into the forests. We live in a little village called Formby. It's got some nice pine woods. It's got red squirrels. It's got a beach. So I've got all kinds of lovely landscapes going on. So I thought I'll wander off there. I'll take some video clips, post them on Instagram, and see what happens. So there I was, pointing at things, not quite knowing what I was going to create, but I thought, well, I've seen other people do this. They point at things and then there's captions. and they give lots of lovely advice to the couples, and hopefully the couples then see that you're a figure of authority in your industry, and they will dig deeper and they'll go and look at your brand spanking new website, and they'll see that you're the best wedding photographer in the world, and then they'll book the jobs. That was the plan.
Yeah.
And so I spent a few days pointing at things and coming up with little ideas. 3 things that you should never do on your wedding day. 3 things that you should do. 3 things to look for in your wedding photographer. After a couple of days of doing this, I realized that I'm not very good at giving unsolicited advice into the void to people that I don't know. A huge part of my business, my approach to actually getting the work when the work was coming in, was meeting the people. I used to go and meet my couples, I still do, in the pub, have a pint. We'd talk about their wedding, and I never had a script or anything. I just wanted to hear what they wanted from their wedding. I'd tell them how I worked, and if it aligned, then fantastic. We'd get another pint and we'd thrash it out, and it was fantastic. What I always thrived on was hearing the other person's story and seeing if the way that I worked for them. So staring into a camera in the middle of the forest, trying to give advice or guidance to people that I don't know what their problems are, what their fears are. It was just really awkward for me. It didn't sit well. It just didn't feel like who I really was. Mm-hmm. So I started doing slightly more surreal videos, throw a few jokes in there. I'm having a shit day kind of things. Can anyone else relate? And it very slowly started to gain some attention, some engagement from the wedding community. Now, as a pretty miserable wedding photographer who didn't engage much with the community over the last 10 years, bar a very small circle of friends, this sudden attention from people, genuine attention, genuine engagement, people were enjoying what they saw, they were relating with it, they wanted to see more, they were messaging me with ideas. I must admit the dopamine felt good, and I thought, I'm going to keep doing this. So January, I posted every day. I posted a reel every day in January. I got to the end of January and I lost 500 followers. I think I made a post about this, but I lost 500 followers. And and I thought to myself, okay, that didn't really go very well. I've lost 500 followers. This was not the point. The point was to try and grow my account, to bring it back to life. As I said, the last 10 years was okay. The last couple of years, Instagram just didn't want to know about my single photographs and my little bit of poetry. So my account was very dead. It was very dead. But I was getting lots of comments. I was getting lots of messages, and I still lost followers. So I thought to myself, do you know what? It was a little bit of a cope. And I've actually put a post up saying, this is not a cope. At the end of January, I said, I've lost 500 followers, but this is fine. This is okay. Sitting in the kitchen on fire, drinking my cup of coffee. This is fine. I'm losing followers because I just thought that maybe over the last 10 years, I've gathered the people to me who saw a pretty picture. They liked it. And then they've stopped using Instagram 3 years ago, or they've moved on to something else. They've disappeared somewhere, whatever it happens to be. Mm-hmm. So I thought, yeah, maybe I'm filtering out the accounts that just don't get me. The second that I've shown a little bit of personality, they've left, and that's fine. I was going out of business anyway, pretty much. I didn't have many bookings on. I thought, sod it, let's carry on. People are engaging with me. This feels nice. People are talking to me again. Let's carry on. So I posted again every day in February, another reel. I started learning a little bit more of how things go together, of what worked for me, what I enjoyed doing. And I think February, I may have broke even on follower numbers, but I was enjoying what I was doing. And then I went off on I went off on a family holiday. I posted every day from holiday. I came back, continued to post, and then one video got a bit of traction. It actually started to get shared. The view count went up. It was very exciting. I got lots of new followers from this. And the next day, I thought, right, I've cracked it. This has got 100,000 views or whatever it's got. I have cracked the algorithm. After 3 months of trying, I know what I'm doing. I can now use my new camera, send people to my new website. Everything's fantastic. So I posted the next day I posted some photographs. I had a lovely time at John's wedding. Please consider booking me for your own wedding. I got 10 likes, no shares, no engagement. And I thought, right, I've fuck this. I've tried my best, and the algorithm has screwed me. And what's the point? What is the point? So I had to do a little bit of soul searching. And again, just this little thing in my head thought, well, you enjoyed doing that. You're going out of business. Let's just carry on. So the next day I showed up and I posted again, and I did it again and again and again and again. And I pretty much, although the schedule has slowed down, I haven't stopped since January last year. And somewhere along the way, I found my voice. I know we all talk about this, finding your voice and your personality, but I think I did find mine, and it's led to things. It's led to things like sitting here talking to you two guys, and people are getting in touch, and I am getting my bookings in now, but more things are happening. People want me to talk at places. People are actually paying me to sit in a room and talk at them all day about content creation and about finding their voice and about using their personality and how to get started on this weird and wonderful world of short form content in a way that doesn't mean following trends or selling your soul or doing weird dances. It's just about finding who you are and leaning into that in a natural way, and in a way that works on Instagram, in that you choose the right music or the right sound effects, the right captions, you edit it ruthlessly, you tell a story, you accompany it with the right text in your post. You tag people in, you engage people. So there's a lot of fundamentals you have to get right in order to then start speaking in your voice and with your personality. And there's a huge amount of mindset goes into it, which people hate hearing, because unfortunately a lot of creators who are trying to sell their PDFs and their online courses, they lean heavily into mindset. This is what you have to do. But a lot of it rings false to me now. And unfortunately, the algorithm has decided that that's all I want to see on Instagram is other creatives who are creating content, and they want to teach people how to do it. That's what the algorithm thinks that I want to see. So unfortunately, I am flooded with it now on my feed. My feed used to be lovely weddings in lovely venues and that kind of stuff. Now it's purely young, cool American creatives in very nice offices with very nice lighting, with swooping fonts and cool riser noises, who are trying to get me to buy their content creation course, which I'm not interested in, because I think that the mindset is, once you get the basics right, it's the mindset that will keep you going from losing your 500 followers in January 2024 with no business on, to keep you going through the downs, through the shit times where you think, what is the point of doing this? I'm wasting my time. This has taken too long and I'm not getting the results. It's the mindset that will carry you through that to a different part of your journey, where suddenly you feel like you've mastered, or maybe not mastered, but you're very comfortable in being able to say what you want to say. And now you can just worry about story or what it is you want to say. You're not fixated too much on on the fear of showing yourself, or what your voice sounds like, or what your face looks like when you're talking, or where you should put your captions, or what music to use. Suddenly all that becomes second nature, kind of like when you're photographing or video and filming a wedding. When we all first started, I'm sure we were nervous. We didn't know what to do. We were fixated on getting everything and anything that moved, anything that looked mildly interesting. We had to get that shot. We had to get that clip. But with experience, and as I've told a few people now, when you become more proficient at something, it's almost not what you have to do, what you have to get. It's what you know you can get away with. And when you do something for long enough, when you photograph a wedding, I know now if I walk into a room and the light shit and the action's in the corners and people are sitting around tables, do you know what? The juice is not worth the squeeze for me at that point. So I'll just walk out. I'll go and find something else. Whereas the first 6 months of photographing a wedding, I'd be in those dark corners. I'd be trying to make something happen because I thought, I'm being paid. I need to get something here. And then I'd get home and I'd go through 2,000 pre-first dance shit photographs of people sat around having a pint, evening guests who have just arrived. They're not interested. They need to get on the shots. Nothing interesting is happening. And after 10 years of doing weddings, I know now I walk in and I go, there's nothing for me here at this point. So I'm going to go and set up something else. And that's what making these reels constantly for over a year now. I think I'm getting up to that place where I feel very comfortable in what I need to say and what I don't need to say, and what I can film, what I can get away with. And that's where I kind of see myself hopefully helping a lot of people in our wedding community, because it's an absolute nightmare at the start, because you don't have that experience of seeing exactly what works, what doesn't work, what you shouldn't do, what you should lean more into. And this has just opened up a whole new avenue for me where I'm really enjoying it, helping people just get started with this social media thing, because it is unfortunately, it is important. It is the number one way that we're going to get seen. And it is how we are going to make our small businesses viable going into the future. If we don't get to grips with it, you're going to end up like me, with a new website, great branding, all the gear, and no one interested in looking at it.
Yeah. And I think
I have to have a drink.
Yeah, go for it. You know, you are the easiest podcast guest ever. You just gave us a wave of information.
I was about to apologize for just talking at you solidly for like 20 minutes. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize.
Perfect. Mate, perfect. You're making our job super easy. So don't worry about it. When you're talking about, you know, your first experience into going into doing TikTok videos, there was a Charles Bukowski quote that I just had to look up because it reminded me of that. And he said, if you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. And I think a lot of creatives are kind of in that middle ground where they're like, I need to try and do it. But and they put up these roadblocks. And I am one of these people, by the way. If you're listening, I am one of these people. But it's that kind of feeling of, oh, I might as well just not start. I might as well.
Or they'll post one and then go, well, it's not really working.
Yeah, it's not really working.
Yeah.
I tried it, and I feel like trying is like the antithesis of just like self-soothing to failure.
Yeah.
That's a fucking great line I just said there. That's great.
I was soaking that up for a minute. That was like, wow. That was very profound. But you're right. We as wedding creatives, we're a funny bunch. And I found that when I was early in my career, are you allowed to call it a career? I don't know. When I was early in my career,
We're also professionals as well, by the way.
Professionals. And when you first start out with photography, with videography, I know this isn't just me because I have spoken to people now. Oh, I sound like such a bellend, don't I want to say? I've spoken to people about this, but I genuinely have. We've had a cup of coffee at my little workshop, and I've spoken to people mainly so that I can confirm a few thoughts that I've had. But this one is very true for me, and it might be true for other people depending on how they start. But when I got started with photography, I didn't give a shit about what anyone else thought about my photographs. I was there. I was on Facebook. I was posting them. I was trying new techniques. I was going crazy with the edits. I was using fake overlays for sun flare. I was going hard on the saturation slider. I was trying all kinds of weird and wonderful things. I was experimenting. I didn't care. I didn't know that there was a community. All I knew that there was YouTube videos, and that was about it. I sat in my little office at my old job, and I watched YouTube videos on how to take photographs. I took out a small loan. I bought a camera, and I went out and I took pictures of my hand, the bark on the tree outside, plant pots, the neighbor's cat. And I loved it. I loved it all. And I posted everything on Facebook. I put the crappiest logos that I'd made myself in the corner of my work, just in case my images were picked up by a big publication and they really wanted that amazing plant pot with the white vignette that I was messing around with.
Oh, absolutely.
And for 6 months to a year of learning photography, right at the beginning, I was absolutely fearless and determined. And I knew that the only way I was going to get better was to keep practicing and keep absorbing information and watching YouTube videos. Eventually, I paid for a wedding workshop where they had some real models. And this was fantastic. Back in 2013, they had some real models. We were at a wedding venue. I was blown away because this is the first time I felt, wow, this is what it's like. I mean, how little did I know at the time? But here we are with the amazing models at a wedding venue with a cool wedding photographer who was leading the group. And I took those pictures. I thought they were fantastic. I edited them. I posted them. And then I started to get better at photography after a year or two. And I got my wedding bookings. And I realized that there was a big community out there. And I was on Facebook, and I joined Instagram and various institutions like Fearless Photographers. This is Reportage came along later. I think there was the British, the Guild of Professional Photographers, whatever it was. All these institutions, and suddenly I realized my eyes were opened that there's a huge community of very, very good photographers out there. Very cool characters, great photographers who were shooting amazing stuff. This is when I first started exploring other people's websites and looking at blogs of Mexican weddings and, people in Italy with the most amazing light that you've ever seen on speedboats going across Lake Como. And all of a sudden, after 2 or 3 years of being utterly fearless in my approach to everything, I started to feel the weight of all these amazing people who were so much better than me, who were doing much better weddings, bigger weddings, better light, better equipment. They were headlining conferences, and they were selling presets, and they were doing workshops and teaching. And there was this community of amazing photographers. And all of a sudden, I was terrified to post my work because I realized that there were better people. There was better photographers out there. And it took a little while to get over that. It really did take a while to go. I don't think I'm still not over that 11 years later. But it's like this weird, we start out innocent and fearless, and we post our work and we experiment and we get better. We know we have to get better because we want to do this job. And so we try everything. And that might be the same for video as well. When you first start dabbling and you experiment with things and with lenses and with filters, and suddenly you learn what an ND filter is, and you're outside in the bright sunlight, and it's just this awesome journey.
I was just gonna say, you missed the 1/8 Pro Mist filter on the lens. That is when you know you have hit peak wedding film.
That's it.
Critique talent. The Pro Mist.
So we go through this as creators. We go through this weird journey of fearlessness, then self-doubt, and then we probably smash a wedding and we think we're the best in the world again, and then we go to another wedding and it's horrendous with terrible light and drunk guests that ruin what you're trying to do, and suddenly you're questioning yourself. And that's the life of a creative. We're riding that wave up and down constantly. But with content creation, we forget that although we might be at the top of our game now and we know what we're doing, we take fantastic pictures, we know how to film a wedding, we make the best stationery in the world, we bake the best cakes, whatever it is, we're suddenly newborn babies again. And we're looking at this world of young people who know how to use TikTok, who know how to do reels. No one goes on Facebook anymore. But we're facing all this content, and all of a sudden we have to accept that we're not at the top of our games anymore. And it's really hard for us as creatives to be posting all that work for the last 10 years or so, me especially, posting all these fantastic photographs, and then suddenly realizing that, no, you have to do short form content now for people to know who you are. And my short form content is absolutely shite. It does not line up with the image that I've created for myself over the last 10 years of being this amazing, mysterious, creative artist who loves his light and shadow and who posts poetry online, and he wants his couples to know that he's the best photographer in the world, and he shoots in Italy and France and Spain. He sneaks into America once or twice to do weddings there.
Oh, you bad boy.
Trump, if you're listening, that's just a joke. Hyperbole for the podcast. And it just doesn't sit well with us. We're terrified, and I can see it on my first reels that I posted. I used to hide them behind the cover photograph. I used to use a beautiful wedding image as the cover with no text, no come and see what this is. And I used to hide it behind there, and I'd post it so that my grid was lovely and everything looked aesthetic and fabulous. And that is because I accept now that I had a big ego and I thought I was a lot better than I was. By the way, when I say that I'm the best photographer in the world, that's a joke, just in case anyone's listening thinking, gosh, he's so full of himself. No, that's an absolute joke.
I like the confidence though. Like, I know it's tongue in cheek, but I like the fact that you say that, because to your couples, you are the best photographer in the world.
Yes,
essentially.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's a big part of finding your personality and your voice, is that you become the best person for your particular couple. But so you have all this content that you need to make and that you need to get out there. And when you're advanced, when you're further along your path, it doesn't sit well, because we are perfectionists. This work that we put out there is they're our babies. We want people to love our work. Look at the Pro Mist filter as it plays with the light shining through the window. Look at the dynamic range of this image that I've just taken. Look at the light playing across the bride's textured dress or whatever it happens to be. And then I've got to somehow marry that with me dancing in the forest with my dog. It doesn't work. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, can I talk about that for a little bit? Because it is funny. Like, you were talking about not being the best photographer in the world, but your website and your images are amazing. Like, but it was so funny because
that's very kind of you.
I discovered you through TikTok, and when you discover someone and you put on like whatever assumptions onto a person, and then you dive deeper into, like what I did with you. I watched all your videos, and I was like, oh, this is resonating so much, and all that kind of stuff. And then I went onto your portfolio, and I'm just like, huh, that is not what I thought I was going to be looking at. This guy is really fucking good. But
thank you.
It was a strange kind of juxtaposition. So I guess my first thought was like, when you use TikTok to get clients, are these the clients in your portfolio? Because I think there's,
or has there been a shift,
or has there been a shift? Because you did mention like your clients and seeing a shift earlier, but like, can you talk a little bit about that? And is your webs, like you mentioned, tonally they are different, and it was kind of surprising just how different they were. Especially,
and that probably is something that other creatives will struggle with. Is
100%.
They've got this, maybe they're a light and airy photographer, but their personality is a wee bit more goofy, and they feel that would clash. So it's probably something a lot of people will struggle with.
Like, and that's a main reason why I do not post for the Cinemate stuff. Like this year, I've said to Greg, I want to create another brand. It's going to be like wild, just elopements, city elopements, any kind of elopements, and I'm gonna approach it in a very like wild, like don't care kind of vibe for TikTok. And in my head, that's easy for me to do once I start actually getting out there and shooting, to create that kind of social media content. But for Cinemate,
there's feels an established voice already.
Yeah, and I feel like I would be going against the established voice. You know what I mean? That, like, did any of that?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And strangely, I do get exactly the same clients that I've always got, and the reason for that, I think the words that I choose to use on my website and when people get in touch and when we meet in the pub, it's a vetting process for both of us. I tend to scare away, and maybe that's why I was going out of business as well, but I tend to scare away a certain kind of couple, and I try to attract another certain kind of couple. And when we meet, when we chat, when I email, that's me, that's my personality, that's what I put on Instagram now. And a lot of my couples, because I don't often ask them for feedback. Someone said that the most important place that you can go for feedback on your business as a small business is the couples, the people who hire you. But we're often terrified to ask because we often think no news is good news. If they email you back and say, thank you very much for that, what a lovely gallery, lovely photographs, we kind of breathe a sigh of relief that we've got away with it again, and we leave it at that. But I've started to chat more to my clients and find out more information, and a lot of them said, you need to put your personality and how you are on the day and how you treat people and how you talk to us and how you guide us through the process. You don't show any of that on your website and on Instagram. And it was only the fact that you were recommended by someone, or we came across your photographs on a random Google search, that led us to get in touch. And it was the actual meeting in the pub or the Zoom call that suddenly went, oh yes, this is the guy for us. This is fantastic. So I've always had great success once I get to the stage of actually talking to people. I've always had a great, what do they call it? A conversion rate. I'm not a very good businessman, but I think it's a conversion rate, isn't it? From your inquiries to your booking. So I've always had a low number of inquiries, but a very high conversion rate. And a lot of my couples say that is probably because I don't put any of my personality in at the beginning to get eyes on my work in this day and age. There's not enough. There's too many people who are making too much noise they're making just a little bit more noise than you. And this is the problem. We've got a lot of photographers, a lot of videographers, a lot of everyone. We've got a lot of everyone. And they only need to make a tiny bit more noise than you. They only have to put in a little bit more effort than you on social media to get their images or their product in front of the client. And the client can only deal with so many options. If they see 3 people making a lot of noise, they're the ones who stick in their head. If they're not turned off by something specific, they'll get in touch with them. And then it becomes those 3. Everyone else, unlucky. They're not going to go through those 3 people and say, nah, none of them were good. And they're going to go and start the whole process again. So unfortunately, if you're not making enough noise about yourself and what you're passionate about and how you can help these couples, you're not going to get a look in early on in the process. And this is something I had to realize, that although my photographs, I'm very happy with them, I think I'm all right, it doesn't matter. The other 3 or 4 people who the clients are looking at, their photographs can be, I don't want to say crap, but their photographs can be of a certain level, but they're just making a little bit more noise about themselves, and they're sticking in people's minds a little bit more. And unfortunately, I won't get a look in. So my clients haven't changed very much because of this kind of long drawn out process that I go through of making sure that they're the right people, meeting them and really telling them what I do. And we gel and we're on the right wavelength. What I'm doing now is just making more noise about myself. However, there is a caveat. Yes, there is a caveat to this as well. And do you like going off on tangents, by the way? Because I often
love a tangent.
I often one of my personality disorders is that I can have this great point that I'm going to try and make, but then something else goes, but let's go down this route for a second. And then when I'm on the way to that point, something else is going to come up. So eventually I've taken you around the houses. I've not made any points. We're 2 hours later and you're like, well, what the fuck? What clip am I going to use for the podcast on that? Where's the big point? So
but it's not about the destination. It's about the journey.
It's about the journey. Exactly.
It's about the journey.
So I've even forgotten what I was going to say.
There's a new tangent.
A tangent on the tangent.
The tangent that I was going to take you along then. What was I going to take you? Oh, yes. Right. So something that medium-sized. No, am I a small to medium? I don't know what I am, but I'm sort of small to medium-sized creator. And I'm also going down the educational path. And as a community of people who use Instagram and TikTok and whatever, we're being polluted by big creative accounts in our industry. We're being led down a garden path. And I think people are probably going to enjoy this more over the next year, because I've always said what I think, and people like it when I say what I think. And I'm getting to a position now where, as my account grows a little bigger and the community grows, that I feel a lot more confident in saying what I think is going on. And we are being misled and polluted by big creative accounts in the wedding industry. And they are spoiling it for us because, and I don't include myself in this, I'm not spoiling it, I promise. But a lot of accounts in the wedding industry are not looking for weddings anymore. They're not trying to attract couples. They're not trying to shoot weddings or film weddings or whatever it happens to be. They are selling to us. They want us to buy their products, their presets, their courses, their workshops, their PDFs, whatever it happens to be, their merchandise, their SD card holders, their t-shirts, the hats. That's where making their money now because the wedding industry is saturated, it's difficult, and they have big followings and they want to monetize that. And that's fine. I don't have any problem with people making money. However, I just feel is it disingenuous? Is that the word I'm looking for?
I think so,
because we look up at these big accounts and we see them with their 200,000 followers, huge engagement, deals from, Nikon, Fuji, and the decent camera manufacturers like Sony. And we see them with these deals and we think, gosh, wow, they're making funny reels, or they're reviewing stuff, or they're doing this, or they're doing that. That's what success looks like. That's what I need to do. And I'm very honest about this. I talk about this in my slight plug in my little workshop. But I'm pivoting massively from looking for actual weddings to photograph to education. I want to show other wedding suppliers that they can do social media a little bit better, and that they can get themselves heard, and that they can get the work in. And I'm very honest about this. This is where I see myself pivoting. I really enjoy it. I did a little workshop. I helped at a workshop, carried some bags in Morocco, and helping the other photographers, some of the newer photographers with the settings and with the scene was fantastic. I enjoyed it so much. So I love teaching people. I definitely can see myself doing more of this over the next 12 months. And I'm going to be very honest about it. That's who I'm talking to now. I don't talk to my couples on my Instagram page anymore. I still get inquiries through Instagram, but I've very much pivoted to talking to other photographers and to other wedding creatives. I want their business going forward. It comes from a place of positivity because I think I can help people. I think a lot of small businesses just need that push in the right direction to start making their content, to start getting the bookings coming in, and to not be left behind. I'm all for community over competition. And I know there's more photographers than there is weddings these days. Oh, that's what it feels like anyway. There might be some statistic somewhere to back that up. And a lot of people say, well, how can you be for community over competition when there's not enough weddings to go around? But I've come to terms with that now, because there's a lot of shit photographers out there and a lot of scam artists. And if I can help the genuinely nice people, the nice suppliers who want to do a good job for their couples, who want to be the best that they can be, and they want the referrals, and this is the career path that they can see themselves doing for the next 20 years. And they just want to make it sustainable, and they just want to pay some bills while they do this thing that they love and they make people happy. I don't care if I help them get all the bookings and we lose all the scam artists and the shit suppliers and the people who don't care about their product. I do not care about them. Let's leave them. Let's try and elevate the people who are actually asked about doing a good job. So that's where I am. And that's why I feel happy and confident in saying that a lot of big creative accounts are not being truthful. They are selling the dream that this is how you become a luxury wedding photographer, or this is how you do this and this is how you do that. When actually they're not. They're selling machines. They're selling their product to you. I am never going to be a millionaire selling my courses and my workshops, and I'm happy with that. All I want to do, if I can help people get enough money so I can buy the gadgets that I like to shoot the odd nice wedding, I'm happy. This is all I want to do. I want to be able to just upgrade my Mac when I need to. I want to get all the external hard drives that I need, and I'll be made up, and get the occasional wireless microphone. make my reels to relate to people, try and help people along the way. I'm happy with that. And people need to stop looking at these huge accounts who make weird content and say that's what we need to do. Because a lot of people are looking at my stuff and they're going, my God, right, okay, his account's growing fast. His stupid face is all over the search page constantly. Right, this is what success as a wedding photographer must look like. So I need to go out and I need to start doing funny reels. And it's actually, that's not what you do. I made a terrible business decision for my wedding photography. I want everyone to know that. This was a terrible decision for my photography. It was a great decision for going down the educational route, but for photography, this was a terrible decision. I stopped talking to my couples, and if I could go back in time and I just wanted to photograph weddings, I just wanted a simple life. I want 25 weddings every year in lovely locations. I would go back to basics and I would talk to my couples. I would explain what photographs I love to take. I'd show pictures of what I'm proud of, and I'd explain how I could work with a certain kind of couple on their wedding day to give them these kind of pictures. That's essentially what I'd do. That would be my entire social media strategy going forward, which I tell everyone when they say, how do I, what do I do? I've got no ideas. I don't know what to say. We see you outside doing funny things. I don't have a sense of humor. I don't know what to do. And I'm a weirdo. This is my sense of humor. I make myself laugh before I make anyone else laugh. My early reels are absolute testament to that. They are garbage, but they make me laugh. And it took a while before I could refine things and before I found my audience who also liked the daft things that I was posting. But if you're just looking for bookings, if you're just looking to get those weddings in, you do not have to go and do funny reels. You do not have to tell people that you've lost your lens cap. The couples don't care about that. You have to talk about what excites you, what your passion is, how you can solve their problems, and keep it very simple, and just do it over and over and over again for at least a year. And you will not have the enormous engagement. You won't have enormous views, and you probably won't have tens of thousands of followers. But what you will have is the bookings coming in. You will be noticed by people. You will get those bookings and you will be able to sustain your business. And we are slightly addicted to the dopamine hit of success on social media. And unfortunately, the dopamine hit doesn't pay the bills. So when I look at some accounts and they're posting fantastic work, fantastic photographs, whatever it happens to be, and then they try a funny reel, and that's absolutely fine because you have to try these reels to attract eyes to your page. But unfortunately, the reel that they're trying to do is a funny wedding photography related incident that will only relate to other photographers.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have a little sip of water. Hang on. So they post all these fabulous photographs. Then they slam an amazing reel down that's dead funny and it relates to other photographers and great. And then they post some more photographs because they want the bookings, but they haven't attracted any couples to their page. So we need to stop. And I know this sounds counterintuitive, but people need to stop looking at accounts like mine. Am I allowed to say my account? Am I at a certain stage now where I can say people need to stop looking at accounts like mine?
Yeah.
And thinking that's what I need to do to be successful. It's true in a way, but it's false in that you have to go and do funny, relatable content. Look at my account and say, this is what I need to do, as in consistent posting, as in finding your own voice and using your personality to the best that it can be. and being hyper focused on who you're talking to. Because most of my stuff now is hyper focused on talking to other photographers. And I want people to realize that I do not have the best account for getting wedding bookings in. I just don't. And the way that you have to do that is to put aside the numbers, put aside the metrics of success, put aside the 100,000 views, and just use Instagram. I'm not too clued up on TikTok, but use Instagram as another tool to get your product in front of the right people, and not just to impress your peers in the community. Yeah, that was a little speech. I didn't mean to go that hard on people. I'm very sorry. You are still allowed to follow my page and like my stuff. and I just want you to,
You mentioned a few like ideas that photographers can use to talk to clients, but do you have any advice for people who are like, how do I think of these ideas? Like, what's some tips for that idea generation?
Oh, absolutely. It mainly follow the process of shooting a wedding or filming a wedding or creating the product that you create for that wedding. And you will find the bits that excite you, the bits that annoy you, the bits that other people like to talk to you about. These are the things that you can start writing down. You can start making notes. And it usually is an emotional thing. So anything that creates an emotional response during your normal working day is potentially something for you to talk about online. I know that's quite a big, that's very broad, but that's where it all starts from. Always hold in your mind, who are you talking to? This is the main thing. Who are you talking to? And usually it should be the couple. That's who you're talking to. Oh, and by the way, you are absolutely allowed to post funny reels and funny stories and relate to people. That is not a bad thing to do. What I'm trying to say is you don't have to make that a strategy. Posting funny reels directed at others in your community is only a long-term strategy if you are ultimately going to make money from people in your community. But if something funny happens to you during the day, then you're absolutely allowed to post that. You are a normal person. It is social media. But I think that a little bit of clarity on who you're talking to most of the time will help you enormously. And after you work out who you're talking to, the next bit is, what are you trying to do with this post? And usually it's one of three things. You're either trying to attract new people to your page. You're trying to attract people in. And that usually means, unfortunately, a controversial opinion. It doesn't have to be controversial to the extent that you're going to talk politics or whatever. It can just be a mildly controversial take, something that you do that maybe not everyone else does. And you can post that and it will get more eyes on your stuff. So you know who you're talking to the couple, and you're going to post something that's going to attract more people to your page. The other kind of post is the nurturing post, where you're going to talk to people who already follow you. So you don't have to do anything controversial. You don't have to do anything, something else that would grab attention, especially from a videography point of view, would be an incident that happens at the wedding. The bridesmaid falling in the fountain. That is what's going to attract new people to your page. So it doesn't have to be a funny reel. It can be an instant. It could be part of a speech. It could be something weird that you saw at the wedding. Just something that will catch someone's attention, and the way you present it will force people to stop scrolling, and they'll just have a little look. The next part is, the nurturing post. So the people who already follow you, who've looked at your stuff, they've chosen to follow you, they're slightly interested in your work, they like your color grading, they might be interested in booking you for a wedding. You have to nurture them a little bit. You have to tell them more of a story, tell them about your passion, tell them why you have chosen to shoot something in a certain way. Why have you chosen this music? Why have you cut it in this point? I'm trying to put myself in the point of a videographer here. So I might be wrong in the terminology. Please forgive me.
That's fine.
So you need to explore the passion behind what you do. Why have you done this? And a problem we have, as I said earlier, as a creative community where we're all linked up, and we all think that we all watch each other's content and we hang off each other's words, is that you overthink what the next videographer is going to say about what you've just posted. And that's one of the biggest things that can stop us from just getting our interest and our excitement out into the world for our couples. We worry about, I'm sorry, Dave. Dave doesn't exist, but Dave is who I always talk about. Dave down the road, Dave the videographer. I'm going to post something that I'm going to talk about this particular moment when dad sees daughter for the first time, and you've chosen to shoot it in this way because you really want to see the connection here, and maybe you've asked your second shooter to be there. I don't know if videographers have second shooters. You've made a decision. You've made an editorial decision to do something, and we can often think, well, this is obvious to every other videographer watching. It's obvious, so I can't post that. I need to be more exciting. I need to think of something that no one else has done. But oftentimes the couples that come to our pages, they don't know this. They don't know the thought process behind it. And if we can just put Dave, the videographer, out of our minds, we worry that we're going to be in a WhatsApp group with a group of 10 videographers and they're going to be saying, fuck, have you seen what Simon and Greg posted the other day? Oh, absolute wet wipes about dad coming into the room. It's like, yeah, that's pretty obvious that you were going to do it. Bloody hell. And because we worry about that, we don't put it on our Instagram and we don't post it because we think that other people are that arsed about what we're doing. But honestly, no one cares. And I mean that in a nice way. But most of the time, people have got their own stuff to worry about. They've got their own businesses to run. They're worrying about their own content. If they've got time to think mean things about what you've just said, they've got more problems to worry about. You're the one there. You're posting it. You're talking to your couples. You're explaining the thought process, the passion, why you've done something, why you've chosen to do this. And you're potentially getting in front of 2 or 3 couples who followed you the other day. Now they're seeing a little bit more about the thought process. And in their minds, oh my God, this guy's Spielberg. He's thought about this. He's made these decisions. This is fantastic. And they show their partner, look at this. This is the one I was telling you about. What do you think about that? Oh, it's dad coming in. Yeah, but listen to why. Listen to why they've stood where they've chosen to stand and what they've. Oh, wow, yeah, I didn't think about that. Oh, that's amazing. So this is the nurturing post. This is showing people what makes you tick. So the first bit, the bridesmaid falling into the fountain, that potentially gets the people to look at your page. Then they dig a little bit deeper. Now you're not trying to shock them or be controversial to get that like or whatever, or that share. Now you're just explaining a little bit about your thought process. And that's what takes people to the next level. That takes them deeper into your sales funnel. The last kind of post that you've got to think about is the turning them into a buyer. And this is something we're terrible at in the UK. We do not like selling our services in one little bit. Unfortunately, when we don't have a strategy, when we don't think about what we're posting, and when we don't know who we're talking to or what we're trying to say, we all fall back into this selling post. And what I mean is, and you've probably done it, maybe this is more of a photography thing, but we fall back into this very wet, very mid kind of selling post. We know that we've got to post something. We know that we have to feed the algorithm, and we will post a nice picture and we'll say, it was lovely being at John and Jane's wedding on Saturday at Brusham Hall in Lancashire. We had a lovely day. Everything was fabulous. If you're looking for your own Brusham Hall wedding photographer, please get in touch. We think that, and the problem that we have is we think in our hearts that is an attraction post. We think that that's going to get eyes on our page, but it's not. That's a selling post. That's this is what I do, please get in touch. But because it's not done with intent, and because it's not done with any nurturing beforehand, because it's not done with any big numbers, because you haven't attracted anyone, it's just these damp, squib selling posts, which I did for years and years, and I didn't realize I was doing it. I was posting a nice picture, please get in touch. That's the crap. That's the laziest kind of selling that you can do. And selling does not work without the other things. You need to. So if there's any advice I can give to people just getting started out, is just have a little think about what you're trying to do here. Who are you talking to? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to get more eyes? Are you trying to show people who you are? Or are you trying to finally get that sale? Because that final sale is the most important bit. That's the most powerful bit. That's the most important bit. That's how we pay our bills. And when we treat it as an afterthought, we don't get much success, and we get disheartened and we get sad, and we end up like I was in December 2023, when we think that the algorithm is broken, the wedding industry is broken, the Instagram is punishing me. And look, I'm posting these fabulous pictures and I'm saying, get in touch, and no one's getting in touch.
Yeah.
So we need to just be more mindful of what we're posting. And honestly, those selling posts, they should be 10% of what you put on your Instagram as a random, without thinking about it and writing stuff down. I honestly think that we hate selling, and yet somehow in the wedding industry, 99% of everything that we post is inadvertently a selling post. So we're being the worst of all that we can be. We need to be more mindful and actually have a stronger plan of what we're going to do.
Hey, I'm Ashley from With Jack. I'm one of the sponsors of the Perspective podcast. With Jack helps to keep photographers in business by supporting them financially and legally if they have problems with a client or they make a mistake in their work. We've all had that fear of our CF card or our hard drive failing and losing important photos. You can find out more at withjack.co.uk. Head over there and find out how we can help you be a confident creative.
I'll admit this to our listeners. I still make very similar mistakes. For example, there was a shop that I wanted to work with, or a brand, and I was getting to know the owner, and all that kind of stuff is great. And I left, and out of kind of, no other reason but to say desperation, I suppose. So desperate to be helpful to this brand, that I think I wrote like a hey, it was really great talking to you, if you need any video work, let me know. And I instantly I sent it, and I was like, what the fuck was that? that doesn't help them in any way. Like,
you're not giving them a solution.
I haven't given them a solution to any of their problems. I've just been like, generic blah.
Yeah.
And it was actually instant that I realized it.
We're so bad at it. We are so
honestly,
bad at
it was just So
I'm also terrible at sales. I'm terrible at it, but I feel a lot happier about being bad at it because now I know where I'm bad and I know when I'm being bad. And I'm sure someone will get in touch and say that I'm barking up the wrong tree and I'm completely wrong. But that epiphany that I had when I realized, and this is I can pat myself on the back for this one because I realized that this selling part that all wedding photographers do it's me. That's inadvertent. Every day I'm just doing this sad little awesome picture and this sad little please get in touch. Why would anyone get in touch? That they're not even going to read that far. You need to do a little bit more. I think we all need to do a little bit more just to reach a kind of a level playing field, because unfortunately we all think that the new people coming into there's always new people coming into the community, isn't there? When I started in 2013, there was too many new people coming into the industry, but there's definitely too many people coming in now. Now that I'm established, there's definitely too many people. But pull that drawbridge up behind me, or was it pull the ladder up? What the hell am I talking about? New people coming into the industry. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So they come into the industry, as I said, with no preconceived notion of what they're supposed to do. And they attack social media with complete fearlessness and they post all kinds of stuff. And we get miffed about their success. And if you go into any Facebook photography or videography page, I love Facebook, not for business, but for those groups where everyone just has a little cry about everything. The industry's broken. There's too many new people coming in. They don't know what they're doing. And everyone's so mad that these people are getting work ahead of them. Well, this is a huge part of the reason why, because they're on social media and they're posting their personality. They're speaking in their voice. They're not scared about upsetting the old crusty ones on Facebook. And couples are coming in, and it's not like the couples are holding up these two products and going, wow, the dynamic range and the composition on this old crusty photographer is fantastic. But, you know, I really like the personality being shown by this young new photographer. This hand doesn't even exist. That person does not exist. All the couple is seeing is this person having a bubbly personality on Instagram and saying that's a real person, and their photographs aren't shit. So that's a win-win. If the price is right, I'm going for it. Mm-hmm. The crusty community groups on Facebook, they do not exist to our couples anymore. And the sooner, if they got off Facebook and stopped whinging about it and started to look at their business honestly and realize that social media and short form content and TikTok and Instagram is just this generation's yellow pages. So they need to realize that just having an awesome website, just being good at photography, just going to wedding fairs, it's not enough when there's so many people making more noise. So we, the nice ones, need to get out there and just do a little bit more to get seen.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I know I've said that about 85 times now, but I can't stress it enough.
I mean, the thing is, we've been told this, I think, from multiple sides, from different people, and not just us here on the podcast. People listening, you have been told this, I am sure, by people before. But I don't know, maybe now will be the little kick that you need to
you sometimes
start
need to hear something
it
so many times before you take action.
Yes.
But you talk about not letting what Dave down the road might think about what you're going to post, but is there anything for you, that any topic or any type of picture that's off limits?
My secret list of things that I'm not supposed to talk about. I've got a
do
few
you
things
avoid you avoid politics? Do you?
Absolutely. I have a few rules which I have written down, but off the top of my head, a big one is no matter what I post, I never criticize the couple, never slag the couple off. I'm sure people will find a reel somewhere where I've done something, but it's usually, it's got to be subtle. It's got to be layered. You've got to do it in an interesting way. You can't just go out there and slag off the couple. That's number one. The other thing is I don't tend to slag off any other wedding vendors. I know that that's premium controversial clickbait is when you name and shame another supplier. Oh, that's what I live for. I want to see that on Threads, on Instagram, in Facebook. I fucking love that when that happens. But I am never going to do that myself because I've seen what happens. We all know Sepia Bride and other various things that have happened where suppliers have ended up screaming at each other and getting blasted all over social media, and it's like this team against this team, and you get turned into a hashtag and all this. No, you don't want to be in that. Just enjoy it from the sidelines. So I never slag off another vendor by name. No politics. I know, sitting on the fence. Oh no, such a bad thing. But this is my small business. I almost went out of business. I don't want to go down that path. There's enough people shouting about it. It's such a prickly one, especially in our community of creatives who are often chronically online. They're plugged into everything as it happens. They've got a lot of time on their hands. They sit at their computer all day. They're very politically active. I just don't have the energy anymore for it. So I try and avoid the politics. I had Trump appear in my story the other day, but it wasn't politically charged. It was just a clip of him. I threw my phone and it landed next to Trump, and his security guard kicks it away. There was nothing political in that, but that's about as close as I've been to that side of things. I don't see. Yeah, gosh, that could be a whole other discussion, couldn't it? How should we bring politics into our small businesses? Is sitting on the fence, just as bad as being on the wrong side? Ultimately, if people want to talk politics with me, come and have a pint in the pub and I'll give you my opinion on stuff. But on my small business page, honestly, I just want to do what I can do to pay the mortgage, to give my daughters as good a start as I can. And I think if I go down the political route, I've probably got a lot to say, but I'm going to attract the wrong kind of attention. And I don't want to spend my days arguing with people on my page. I've seen it happen to a couple of other photographers. I had to unfollow one of them in America.
Cool.
I don't actually disagree with what he's saying, but it went from posting about what I followed him for originally to just constant American politics in big letters, constant slideshows. And I just thought, it's not what I want from life. I just want to do. I have an Amazon delivery. Can you just hold on one second?
Yeah,
very important delivery. Hang on.
It's a new shiny camera. Leveling up his photography.
See if it is.
No, it's not for me.
There is actually nothing worse. There's nothing worse. Nothing worse than when you get your wife's name on a package. You're like,
or your neighbor.
So I don't want to talk politics so that my business can thrive, so that my wife can continue to order things like that, which is not for me.
Yeah, I guess if there's a couple that like definitely disagrees with any stance or whatever, they're going to wean themselves out eventually through the conversations or the video call or anything without being blatant about it publicly.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's just one of those ones for me. I know it's fence sitting, and I know a few people will be like, well, that's just as bad as not picking a side, but I don't care. I'm trying to run my small business. I'm trying to bring it back to life. And at the moment, I don't want to rock the boat too much. And yeah. So yeah, no, don't slag off the clients. Don't slag off other vendors. Don't get involved with politics.
Wait, sorry, when you said you were trying to bring your small business back to life, the wedding side, or because obviously you said you were pivoting.
The initial plan. This is why I'm a terrible businessman. The initial plan was to bring the weddings back to life, which I have done. The weddings are back to life.
And just before you say back to life, what does dead in a business, how many bookings did you have to feel like, nah, this isn't
I had about 3 bookings for 2024.
Wow. Okay.
Nothing. And it might have all worked out, but usually by November, December, things are coming to life. Then you have the January.
Sorry, that is a fire alarm on our end.
No.
We forgot. It's okay.
It's 11 o'clock on a Wednesday. That's our anchor point in the week.
So, have you got a nip outside, or is it okay?
No. It's literally just a practice alarm. It happens every week. I don't really know why it happens weekly. But
just to test them.
There you go. We're saving no fires. Apart from the hot content right here.
That's it. So I didn't. Yeah, as I said, I didn't have many bookings on at all. I think I had three or four bookings, which I would have completed, and I would have done to the best of my ability. But at that point, I would have gone, right, it's time to go and find another job until maybe things pick up. Yep. And January rolled around, the traditional January rush, and that didn't happen. It felt 2024 that the January rush didn't happen for a lot of people. When you spoke to them quietly and privately on WhatsApp or in Messenger, if you looked on Instagram or on people's stories, then everyone was fully booked, obviously. And they've had 150 inquiries in January and they've never been more busy. But when I was speaking to some of my colleagues, some very amazing photographers, it was a little bit quiet for everyone. So that filled me with dread. If I hadn't got the bookings in and January was crap for everyone, this made me feel that maybe this would be the last year of being a full-time wedding photographer. So I did my thing. It came back to life. I've got the number that I need to survive. Which is? I think I've got 15 in for this year now.
Cool.
Sorry, for this year, which is fine. I aim for before I started this pivot, I was aiming for about 20. Right. Since I've started this, I've never done huge amounts. I've always been quite selective. This all reinforces why the business was in a bad state, probably. I've always done low inquiries, really lovely weddings for people who I really gel with. So I never get bad feedback. I always get referred. I always have the best couples for me. I always get on fabulously with people. And it's always worked up to that point. But then something went wrong. The inquiries weren't coming through. I had to do something. So I've brought the small wedding business back to life. Mm-hmm. I've inadvertently created this beginnings of something, this monster that is growing and could, I think, eventually lead me to possibly abandon looking for weddings to shoot. I think that I really, really enjoy doing this kind of stuff, talking to people. I forced myself as a test. I wanted to do a workshop. And part of the mindset that I've been putting myself through over the last 12 months means that everything's about incremental improvements and doing the hardest thing first. And I thought PDFs online, pre-recorded courses, all this kind of stuff that we all know and love and that we all buy. I've got so many PDFs in my inbox that I've never read, but merely the act of purchasing them means that I'm absorbing the information, like having a gym membership when you never go to the gym. So they're all sat there in my inbox doing nothing, but I've paid for them. I've invested in that person. I've read the stuff. I've thought about it for days and days and weeks, and then I've pulled the trigger on that $49, and then it downloads to your inbox and you go, whew, and then you never look at it. So I thought, I know that exists, and I know that pre-recorded stuff exists because I've signed up for a few of them as well, and I've watched them half the way through before kind of getting bored and moving on with my life. But where I've always got value is when I've actually got off my arse and gone somewhere and listened to someone who I relate to or who I look up to, and I've listened to them talk, and they've explained something, and I've left that day with just a few golden nuggets of something that I can put into use. Mm-hmm. So I thought, right, how about sitting in a room with 10 photographers or whatever for 8 hours and just talking about getting properly started with social media, with short form content. That sounds horrendous. That sounds like something I'm not geared up for. So let's do that. So I announced that. I put it on my stories. Once it was announced, I had to do it. And that's how my brain works. Once it's locked in as a date, I'm going to have to start thinking about it. Yeah. And I did. I survived. I spoke all day. I had a sore throat. People came away happy. I got some great feedback. I did it again the following week because I knew that straight away I would have ideas on what I needed to change, on what I needed to lean into, on what maybe wasn't as important to my process. So I did it again. I've announced another one, doing it in Liverpool in a couple of months. And just knowing now that I can sit in a room and waffle on for 8 hours, with breaks, with tea breaks and stuff, but I can do that. So I feel like the rest of the options are possibilities now. If I can do that kind of unscripted chat to everyone, I should be able to do something smaller online, maybe a live webinar. I should be able to do one-to-one. I should be able to do this. So I'm trying to do it in the correct way. I'm trying to do it in the way that I learned photography and really throw everything into it and not just look at it like possibly a few accounts do as a kind of, I've grown on social media. Here's my preset. Download it for £50 or my LUT. Sorry, let me transfer to videographer speak. Download my LUT.
I appreciate that.
And I just want to try and do it as a nice, sustainable business to help people. And I had to get over the fear. God, like with everything, like with even posting these videos, I had to get over the fear of Dave down the road saying, oh yeah, obviously he's done something on social media. Now he's trying to sell courses. Oh, typical sellout. Well, actually, I genuinely think that this is an important aspect of our businesses that is often done really well, but for more established people in the industry, they haven't really delved into it because they just can't get over that first hump, that perfectionism that they've held for the last few years in their business. They can't get over that little first hump to get started making shit content that eventually will be good content. And I think I can help people get over that and say, look, if a weird looking Scouser who was middle-aged and doesn't like his own face and his own voice, if he can do it, then you absolutely can find your own personality and your own voice and use what you're excited about with your small business and create something. You don't have to dance. You don't have to be funny. Just be, I hate using this word over and over again, just be passionate about something Just show people what you do. Why are you excited about this? Why do you do this? What do you get out of it? How can you solve people's problems? And I think that sounds hard for people who aren't asked about their own business in that way. If people just look at it as a money-making machine and they need X amount of weddings and it's just to pay bills and blah, 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 they're going to struggle with it. So really, I just want to talk to the people who are excited about their business and who want to get it in front of the right people, I suppose. I'm exploring my own opinions on things as I say the words out loud.
I mean, yeah,
that's what it is.
Are you an external thinker like I am? Poor Greg.
Oh, what's that? An external thinker. Oh, an external thinker.
Yeah. Like you have to say things out loud to then be like, oh yeah, that works, or that doesn't work, or...
Yeah, I suppose that could be a thing. I often learn things about myself when I'm put into weird, uncomfortable positions like this, and I'm just rambling on, and then the sentence gets formed, and I'm like, yeah, actually, I do. Yes, that's what I want to do. If I help the wedding community with their social media problems, make a little bit of money doing that, so I can continue to make my funny reels and help people and help the nice suppliers get their work in front of people, so that we can abandon all the shit scammers out there and we can do our thing a bit better.
Yeah. Man, this has been a great... I mean, I was going to say it's been a great chat. It's been a great listening to Andrew podcast. I have been fully engaged with what you're saying.
It's meant to be a conversation. I do apologize.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I actually really, like I said, I've been fully engaged here, and I'm sure our listeners will too, because I think a lot of us out there struggle, especially with talking to our clients, because it's coming from my personal view. I feel like it's quite difficult to put myself out there when I have preconceived ideas of what I am, what I sound like. I mean, it's even weird when we meet people at like conferences and they say to listen to the podcast, but it's like, oh, but I thought your voice was on his body and his body was on your body. I've been called faceless, my faceless voice. I'm like, oh, thank you. Kind of? Yeah. Yeah, that's a compliment. As long
even
as you're enjoying
video.
Even when we do video. If you're listening to this podcast and you've never seen my face, just go into Spotify. You can see my face. Oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry. I haven't actually said this to Greg, but in having spoken to people...
Greg's panicking.
And remember, I externally think, so I'm just going to do this live so that people can actually see what I'm doing and say how brave I am. I don't know. Coming from conferences, because it's been the beginning of the year, we've been to a couple, and it's been great meeting everyone. Thank you if you've said that you've enjoyed the podcast. I really do appreciate that, because... my little heart. But a lot of people have asked if we would consider doing a big conference or something. But the big conference idea, it has been done, and it is being done very well. But the smaller kind of conferences, I've always felt like would be quite beneficial to people, like kind of like imagine like not one-to-one training at a gym, but a small group training session,
like Andrew says, a few people in a room,
exactly. So Andrew, being live and maybe putting you on the spot, and I do apologize if I am, and you're more than welcome to say no, but would you ever consider bringing your workshop to Glasgow and doing it maybe here in our office? I know it's kind of weird because you could probably do it online and obviously not very convenient for you, but I know there's a really good contingency in Glasgow who would probably benefit a lot from what you're saying.
I think we could do that. I think I've had a few people north of the border asking when I'm going to come further north, and a few people further south as well. And
okay.
I mean, I've probably said most of what I say on the day, but we just go into even more detail and more tangents and more thinking behind it. But absolutely, and why not? We could do that.
Okay. And if I've put you on the spot, I do apologize. Sometimes I think that things happen behind the doors, but behind the walls, behind closed doors quite often, and they don't see how things are done. But I think quite often it's just like, you just communicate with people. You say, hey, this would be kind of cool. Would you want to do it? Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Cool. And then we'll sort it out later.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but of course, I'm happy to do that. Okay. We can sort. That might be quite interesting.
Yeah. I'm gonna. But
can sort that out.
If you don't want to say no, it's fine.
It's fine. Well, as I just said, the whole reason that I did the live workshop in Liverpool was so that I knew in my heart that I could do it. So I'm not panicking. If you think that there's an audience in Glasgow who would come along and attend, then we can make that happen.
Let's go into show and tell, right?
Let's talk about some of your photos, because we've been talking about your social media stuff, but let's look at some of your world-class photography.
No, I haven't updated my website since I got the brand spanking new website. So this.
So actually, by the way, I really love all the tones of your website. I feel like the way you color. I was going to say color grade. The way you what's the?
Well, if this is the old website, then it just says worthless complimenting it.
Worthless. These photos are worthless. They were once the best in the world, and now they're nothing.
Now they're nothing.
No, I mean, I know you spent a lot of money on it, and you wanted people to see it. So I think just bringing it to people's attention and just. Like, I would say go check out Andrew's work, because it's, I
need to get rid of all the ChatGPT generated paragraphs from the. I might do that over the weekend.
Do you use a lot of ChatGPT?
I did. Mm-hmm. For the blogs and stuff, until I realised that honestly the last 14 months has been a bit of a transformational journey for me, and actually unlocking my voice and my personality. Now that I've got that, I feel that ChatGPT is a very useful tool for me, just to unscramble a few of my thoughts. I often have thoughts, and I say, "Will you just clarify this for me?" And it will clarify it, and that's fine. But I actually feel like I can write now in my own voice a lot more confidently. I know what I want to say. Yeah. So rather than, when ChatGPT came out, we were all made up, weren't we? We could get our blogs done in 5 minutes. We could do this, we could do that. Now, unfortunately, every ChatGPT generated blog is pretty obvious to spot. So I am going to go back, and I'm going to make sure that it's my words that are on the page. And I think I've only got 10 blogs on my new website. I only got 390 more to post. Remember when we used to blog?
Yeah.
Did videographers ever blog?
You're saying this at a bad time, because I've literally just gone back. Like, we had 2 years of unblogged stuff.
We realised we hadn't been blogging. We thought we had. Yeah. We'd been like, I thought we'd posted this wedding. Mm-hmm. Oops, we haven't. So we went back like 2 years and went, let's just start posting these. So we posted like every day for about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was time consuming. And I, being a dyslexic person, I rely quite a lot on ChatGPT to, one, get my thoughts down on paper, to have it be like, there's kind of the generic thing the thing that I want to say. Yes. And then take all the details from all our notes from like vendors and things, because I want to spotlight their effort as well. And I find it quite time consuming if I'm just typing out the things. So I use ChatGPT to kind of correlate. No, that's not the one. Just grab everything and shove it in with my thoughts.
Yes, that's what it is.
And then I've trained it with a tone and an elegance of the brand. And so I've done that. And so every blog that you see is ChatGPT and me working together hand in hand.
It's a collab.
Yeah, that's right. Because when the robots do take over, I want to remember that I was a friend. And don't kill me.
I'm always very polite to ChatGPT. I say thank you. Yeah. I say please. How are you doing this morning?
Yes, I actually do that too. Hey Siri, set an alarm.
Thank you.
I say thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very polite. Remember that.
So, images.
Anyway, yes, your website. It looks great. Let's have a look at your work.
Can you see the screen behind us?
Yeah, oh yes.
world class, Andrew.
I like that
world class.
Yeah,
I like it as well. I actually picked this because I was, and we've spoken to Sophie Bernard on the podcast as part of the Thrive, but we were at Thrive, and she mentioned that. So Sophie shoots a lot of high end weddings and stuff, and in particular, she was talking about like details and stuff on tables, and quite often you want to get to eye level and not really go too far down. With general, caveats to that, obviously. But I really liked this because it was like, well, someone might think, why is the bride in shadow? Can't even see the bride. Like, what the fuck? Idiot. A couple of steps, she should have been in the light.
Yeah.
But that's why I like this. It's from a low angle, which is just a general rule not to do.
Yeah.
In like generic photography language, with working with brides, because that's what the industry has told us. And you've put the brides in, you're focused on the bride, but you can't see her face. And I really like that element. Plus, I feel like right now I'm getting quite jealous of photographers being able to shoot vertical. I'm just not there with video yet. It's hard.
No, I understand that.
So talk me through your thought process here, as well as just the technical difficulties of working with harsh light, which I know a lot of that scares a lot of people.
Yeah. So as you can see, this was taken in the north of England. I think this was Yorkshire.
Is that a joke?
Yeah. Oh no, you're sorry. Let me get a bit closer. No, so that's in Spain. That's in Seville.
Oh, I thought I was losing my mind there.
And this is during the wedding breakfast. So I think you can see a guy there behind the bush.
Yeah.
And
where?
Oh, so you can. Over in the bush.
they're all eating their food, and this hacienda has these covered walkways. And as I was wandering around, I really liked the way the light shone under the arches. So it's very dramatic lighting. It's very harsh. So instantly I knew in my head that I wanted some kind of silhouette. My first thought was against the sky. So I was going to put the bride in that spot.
Like here?
Yes.
Yeah.
But as she's and I think I probably did take that shot as well. This was just a bride walking along, and every time she hit one of these arches, the light was shining in. That's when I would shoot that frame. As she got closer and closer, I dropped down to the ground because I had an idea to frame her under the archway. But this shot, I really love because it's a half silhouette along the body, which I never really see. It's probably quite a difficult one to pull off. It was done in the moment, so I'd never be able to do it again. But I think the beauty, what I really love is trying to create something out of the chaos that's actually happening right there in just a few seconds. So this was just, she's eating her food. Can you do me a favor? There's these amazing light tunnel things. No problem. Grabs her flowers, does the walk. And I knew, because, as you say, because of that strong light, there was no point in me trying to work out some lovely, soft portrait. I knew immediately that I had to do something silhouetted. Yeah. But as she's walking along, and I saw the intensity of the light shining, I knew that there was this weird kind of half silhouette. So half of it's luck, half of it is knowing that the strength of this light is going to create this really dark shadow. And I just really like where that one's ended up. I also like, although at first I was going to frame her traditionally in that sky, the leading line of the arch that comes down to her head, I know you're not supposed to split the head with anything, but I just like it. The lines guide me down to the head, which almost carries you down the half silhouette of the body. I don't know. I like that one.
I mean, you're even looking at, so like, the invisible lines. Like, obviously, you've talked about the physical lines of like a border on a border. The invisible lines that the eye creates, like for me, there is a line going straight to her face. It's just in the trees.
Yeah.
Right there, and there. And I absolutely love that.
And also the shadow of the trees. And I'm pointing at the screen as though you can see my finger on your screen.
Yeah.
But on the right of the frame, if you see the shadow of the tree, this one, and then on the left, there's more shadows of the trees. It kind of her shadow down her body is another vertical shadow.
Oh, right. Three, like the three.
Yep.
Is that what you're? Yeah. All right. Yeah.
It's just very pleasing.
Yes, I like that one.
I
got down.
Really do.
You've got to get down on the floor as well sometimes, just to see what happens.
Yes, absolutely. Just love it. Just love it. Now,
more harsh light here.
Now, this one, I was just like, it's so funny that you mentioned Fair Horisti, because when I saw this image, and this is the first image that you see on your website, that's exactly who I thought. I feel like you've definitely taken inspiration.
Oh, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Fair. Huge fan.
Isn't everybody though?
Yes, I know. And I like he was the first big, like the big name destination. He had traveled over, and we asked him to be on the podcast, and he was just the nicest guy. He said, "Yeah, sure, just pick me up here. I'll come to your studio." And ever since then, I've been supporting his content. I don't understand what he's saying. Please, Fair. In captions, please, because I'm an idiot. Please, I want to know what you're doing. I'm sorry. I understand why you're you do what you do because you told us on the podcast, but still, I want to support you. I understand what you're saying. Anyway, I love this type of image, playing with shapes, shadows, lights, putting people in the harsh light. So many people, again, are scared of this.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things to do, but I often find that this type of image is one of the harder ones to do, because you need to be aware of the point from where the sunlight is coming from, because you can't see it. You can't see light when it's in a space. You can only see the shadows. So, talk to me about this image.
So
and how you try and see this before you make it.
I've got a little bit of a thing with trying to make this image or similar images to this at every wedding that I go to. It doesn't happen a lot because we don't get that lovely hard light that I'm after.
Yeah.
But this is created from really intense light with some kind of wall to split that light. And this is all me walking around with my hand in front of my face, trying to work out where I'm going to position them before I interrupt them.
Yeah.
And then I drag them away from their meal. I shove them in the right spots. I know it doesn't sound very technical, but I'm always looking for the slice of harsh light where it's at the correct angle, where I can hide one person in the shadow and one person in front of the light. That is what I look for every wedding. I've managed to pull it off a few times. At one point I wanted it to be like a signature thing that I always do. Oh, it's one of those Andrew Keher portraits. That's what I was after. Unfortunately, the north of England, no, it doesn't work.
Too many clouds.
Too many clouds, too much soft, nice light on everyone's face. It doesn't really work. So I'd love to get more technical with this, but this is genuinely just me. I saw the light, I wandered around with my hand out, and I worked out that, yes, I could stand him here, and I could put her there, and I'm going to see both of them. I shoot at F11 or F8 or whatever it is, high F numbers that everyone's terrified of these days. And
well, we spend all this money. We spend all this money on a lens that can shoot 1.4. Why on earth
1.2
would we cheapen our lens?
Else? Yes, exactly. So I love that one. It's relatively simple to do. the little bit of wind blowing her hair around was just the icing on the cake for me. But I probably took a lot of pictures of slightly different angles. I overshoot massively, and then I spend far too long looking at them in Lightroom before I settle on the one that I love. So I do shoot a lot, and I'm not going to pretend that I rock up and take one shot and it's done. I work for the shots. I work for these portraits. Sometimes I get lucky, like the previous shot where I have the vague idea of what the light is going to look like when I've finished, where I was just lucky in that her walk came together in just the right way, because she could have thrown her arm into shadow. She could have not had the little gap under her arm and turned into more of a blob. She's not a blob, but she could have turned into a blob in the shadow. So lucky with it. You can shoot with intent and get lucky. And sometimes, like this one, you have to see what the hell you're doing for it to work.
Yeah.
And then take quite a few shots of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is a little bit of trust here when you're trying to find an image in a live environment as a wedding. There's just so many things happening with light that changes, and it's very hard to foresee stuff. So you are kind of being very present, and just it can be like slight changes that make or break an image. Like you said, the hair.
Absolutely.
Like, you kind of planned that.
Yeah.
But you shot into the moment, and the result was this happening.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
And I really like it because, again, it's just during the meal. So it's not a big convoluted photo shoot. It's just an opportunity. You grab them. They already know what I'm about, because, as I say, I vet my couples just as much as they vet me. They know I've explained the thought process and what I do. And if I see something cool, I want to try and do that shot. Yeah. And I try not to disturb them too much. And if it was a complete failure, I'd probably abandon it after a couple of tries. I'm not going to keep them standing there. The body language starts to stiffen up. The face gets a little bit disinterested. You've got a very small window when you're not working with professional models. Very small window when they're still interested, and then move on to something else. Yeah. For me, anyway, that's how I do it.
Yeah. And the confidence to give up on that idea comes with time. Like when you've been photographing for years, you're like, this is not working. Let's just move on. You find what you're going to say and you move on.
Most of my day is saying to myself, that's not working. And I'm moving on. I'm moving on.
Yeah. So speaking of moving on, let's move on to the next image. This image. And I'm really sorry, guys, because I realize that you can, if you're watching on the screen,
it's not I'll edit anything.
I'll edit in the actual image, but you can see the reflection of the desk. We should have picked a darker desk, to be honest. Anyway, I actually like this image because it's there's this trend at the moment, the vibe thing that's going on.
Yeah, people
like to drop shit and make it blurry.
Yes,
and I feel like me personally, I'm more like shapes and colors and patterns rather than movements and stuff. But that's just me today, or when I pick this image. There are some blurry images that I find quite cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I just liked you're always. Not always, but a lot of your galleries are you playing with shapes and light and colors, and I really appreciate this. And it's got the same kind of vibe as the first image that we looked for. It's like, well, maybe you would imagine the light to be hitting the flowers because it's a bouquet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know if there's like a special story to this ribbon, like sometimes there's like
not the ribbon, but there's a story to this, because this was actually shot at that workshop that I told you about, where I had my epiphany, where I suddenly realized how much I was enjoying helping people. So this came at the end of a session of bridal preparation. We had a model. the lovely Carolina from Croatia, possibly. She's gonna kill me if I've got that wrong. You know who I'm talking about.
I'm clipping this for social media. Just put you on blast here. You don't know your models.
Miss Croatia, in fact, 2023, I think it is. Anyway, so the bridal prep and everyone's taken their photographs and they're getting some lovely images for their portfolio. And as they were wrapping up, and the wonderful Angela Van Heffen, who organised the workshop, worked her arse off to give everyone an amazing experience. She's little Polish firecracker shouting at everybody that it's time to move on. We need to go. We need to move on. And I saw this light shining through, and I said, just for my own benefit. And I hadn't taken many pictures because I was helping everyone else. I said, I'm seeing something. Can you just hold the flowers out here like this? No. Let's turn it upside down. And they looked at me like I was an absolute lunatic, the group. Yeah. And I took that shot purely for my own pleasure, for the light, for the upside downness, and I love it. And I've put it on my website, and I don't care. I know there's a thing going on in the community. People don't like styled shoots, and styled shoots are ruining the industry, and this, that, and the other. But for me, a cool picture is a cool picture, and I'm very happy with my photographic ability. I'm not trying to kid anyone that I'm at a real wedding when I'm not, because I know what I can do at a real wedding, and I just really love the light. And again, it makes me happy because we were in a beautiful room with glass and palm trees and a pool and beautiful textured walls, and I've chosen the dark corner to illustrate this moment, and I love it, and I keep it there. This was part of that process where I realized that I just love showing people stuff and making people think about things maybe a little bit differently. Maybe you don't have to you can take the picture, obviously take a picture of the flowers for the gallery, but if you're shooting for your own pleasure and the things that you think are cool, then you can end up with a gallery on your blog. You can make a blog of 20 or 30 pictures, which are completely things that you think are cool. And suddenly your gallery is elevated far beyond the normal level that people think that they have to do. Here's the pictures that I think I have to show to get people to book me for a wedding. Like I do not care anymore about showing people anything that I don't think is cool or that tells a particular story or that has interest in light or whatever it is. I just don't care. And I've done that for quite a few years now, and I don't show. Well, I hope I don't. I mean, someone might go on my website now, look at a blog and go, these are all normal. But I try not to show anything that is just a group of people outside a church or a vintage car or whatever it happens to be. Not because they're not absolutely fine in their own right, and people you can find a photographer that does all that kind of stuff. But I want to show people, I think this is cool, so this is what I'm going to do at your wedding. This is what I'm always looking for. I didn't mean to go into a big speech about a picture of some upside down flowers, but that's the thought process behind why that exists.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. The instinct is hold the flowers out up the way, but that makes you stop and go, oh, that's actually a cool photo.
Talk about cool photos. I mean, well, first of all, this looks dangerous. Just off the bat, it looks like
they did climb quite high up. So this is a real wedding in Iceland, not an engagement, not a styled shoot. This is genuinely an elopement, and we went and flew in a helicopter. I have a fear of flying, and they forced me to go in a helicopter, and it was horrendous. And we were on the Black Beach in Iceland, the famous Black Beach, and it was pissing down. And the groom is a little bit shorter than the bride, which is absolutely fine in 2025. This is what we have to deal with. But I think he wanted to be elevated slightly, and he was a good climber, so we threw him up there. His trousers are incredibly tight, but he did it. I think he's into his mixed martial arts, so he's got very powerful thigh muscles, and he packed them into those tight trousers, and he climbed up that cliff like an absolute hero.
What a guy!
So yeah, this is more just about the texture of the rock. I think there's been quite a few pictures on that beach. I didn't want to feel left out, but I love the texture, the rain on the stones, to turn them into different shades, the leather jackets. I don't know. Again, it's a cool picture. A lot of my stuff, when I try and be philosophical about it, it often just boils down to, I think it looked cool. And that's why I did it.
Yeah, I think
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I quite often put meaning at the end, like when I'm editing, I put the meaning of something. There's never some magical forefront or whatever. But the reason I like this is just because the stones kind of have that, like, you know, when you look at like a leather skin, obviously, if you look really close, it has that kind of texture.
Oh yeah,
the rocks kind of reminded me of that texture, and then they just so happened to wear leather jackets. So I don't know, it just all kind of felt really nice and dangerous, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe not quite as dangerous as it. They did get a decent height, but the sand, the black sand, starts very rapidly below frame. There, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
I think he would have gone higher, except she couldn't quite climb in the dress.
Yeah. I mean, that's not fair. Dresses are hard to climb.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that was their idea. He was like, I want to go up there. Or did you suggest it?
I knew that I wanted a picture on the wall. I probably instinctively would have chosen a lower point to start with, but no, he was straight up there, no problem.
Yeah.
So you have to lean into the confidence of the couple that you're working with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's one more image that I really enjoyed, and
you just couldn't keep it. Normally, try and keep it to 3, but I think we've got 5 today.
I
like this one.
I really like this image, and actually, when you were talking about where you'd been featured, I went down and clicked on your logos to see if they linked to places, because there's nothing worse than logos when you click on them and they don't take you anywhere. Anyway, and they took me to the photographers Keeping It Real.
Oh yes,
and I'm scrolling down because I'm like, "Where's his images?" And you've got a few of them, and this was one of them, which I didn't realize. So, yes,
that's cool.
I really like this, and I don't know if you've been on TikTok recently, and you've seen the kind of like, people are kind of going off at the world because they are angry at the glorification of parenthood. In a way, you know, it's like, kids are great and stuff. Although, well, I don't. Do you find that you've recently had a kid? Did you feel that? Like everyone's like, having the kids is the best thing, it's the most fulfilling thing. And then when you have the kid, it's like, ha ha ha, you idiot, we tricked you, and now you're fucked for life.
I think people are quite open and honest about how hard it is.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Maybe it's just the people you surround yourself with. I don't know. I've always been quite honest with like parenthood being fucking difficult.
Oh yeah, I've got twins, so
you do? All right.
I've got twin girls. Yeah, they're 11 now, so they're just all the hormones are rising to the surface, and it's very interesting in our house at the moment.
Yeah, my eldest is also 12, so a little bit older, but yeah, very, very sassy.
Yes, very much so.
I've never heard the word no in my life before so much. Anyway, I just love this because it's like the antithesis of like that, and then people are like, "Oh, you shouldn't have kids at a wedding," and I'm just like,
I really like this one because it's about 2 minutes before she's supposed to walk up the aisle. And her daughter threw a massive tantrum and threw herself on the floor in a lovely bit of light. And I thought, I just really like the ruffles because You don't even have to see Mum there to know exactly what Mum is thinking.
Yeah.
Just a little version of her, the little shoulder, the muscles in the shoulder, the legs. Yeah. It's a tantrum. She's overstimulated, overtired, and yeah, I love that picture. I love that picture. Yeah. It's one of my favorites.
I didn't realize how early in the day it was. Like in my head, I thought, oh, he's used a flash and it's like dance.
This
like
is
the dancing,
the very unglamorous bar area that at the place called the Saddleworth Hotel in Oldham, and the bride comes in through a very unglamorous fire exit into the spare bar. You know, sometimes they have a small bar and then you have a big bar. So this is the small bar where they kind of gather. The registrar comes to see them, and then they walk through into the real area. So I saw the bride coming in, the lovely framing through the fire exit as she comes in. I'm just stood there with my camera. Registrar does the usual, you're going to have to step back. I need to have an important word with the bride. And you're like, okay, no problem. I step back. Little girl asks for something, throws herself on the floor. I took the shot and walked into the main room. And I knew in my mind, I had a big smile on my face, and I thought that's going to be awesome. The light was good.
Today's going to be a good day.
And the other thing as well, this is pre-mirrorless. So this is an old Nikon D750.
Yeah.
Old tech. Don't knock it. If you people are worried about upgrading their cameras, you can get fantastic. Some of my best work is done on my old DSLR. So it's not always a race to the technological top.
Yeah.
You can get decent stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah, love that one.
Yeah. Love this, love the tones, everything. Yeah. Just a good time. Just a good time.
So, in wrapping up, do you have any... We usually ask book recommendations, so we'll stick with book recommendations for people.
Book recommendations.
Whether it be business or photography, or is there any social media accounts you'd recommend following? And it leaves our listeners with something to go and check out.
Gosh, I should have thought about this, but books. Maybe not books or accounts to check out. I'll be a bit more philosophical.
Go for it.
Is that my Amazon delivery? 1 second.
Again, how many packages do you see your wife?
I'm so sorry. Hello. Very kindly. What a strange. Oh gosh. Okay. Thank you. Cheers.
Who else was listening to that conversation?
No, not for me.
Not for you. Oh, God's sake. Buy yourself more toys.
More parcels for the wife, the Mrs. Lucy.
You need to treat yourself more. Buy a new camera.
Oh, I've got
the end of the text here.
I've got some flip-flops coming. That's what I'm waiting for. Some Superman flip-flops. Anyway. So, yeah, philosophical books. In order to start to find your voice and your personality on social media, people often think that they have to have this big, exciting personality. They have to like cool things. They have to be like the Red Bull YouTube channel with skydiving and doing loop-the-loops on BMXs. But I am a massive nerd, and I love my Lord of the Rings. I love my Terry Pratchett. I love my fantasy books and my Dungeons and Dragons and my Warhammer and all the other kind of nerdy stuff, which 10 years ago I would never tell another soul outside of my little circle, because I just thought that as a photographer, I had to be cool. I had to be creative and mysterious. And it's taken me 10 years and a year of posting online to realize that it doesn't matter how boring or cringe you think Dave down the road will find your particular interest or your hobby or the thing that gets you excited or the thing that you're passionate about. That stuff is who you are, and it's a huge part of your personality, and it's the stuff that you grew up with. It's the movies you like, the books you read. It's not necessarily a self-help book or, whatever is the latest. People always have what's the one my brother got me, the about an ape. We've all got an ape inside us or a monkey inside us, and we have to control the monkey. It's something to do with a monkey.
Is it something paradox?
I think it's the
paradox or something. No, maybe I'm wrong.
It could be. It's about we've all got this monkey inside us that often wants to do things, and we have to acknowledge that and control it, and all the rest of it. Anyway, a lot of self-help books are like this, but all the stuff that you love, the stuff that you love growing up, the stuff that you probably still love now, this is the rocket fuel that you can use to start being more personality driven on your social media. You don't have to, as I say, sing and dance and make jokes and do all the rest of it. You just have to look inside and find those things, those books that you grew up with, Mike Terry Pratchett, Lord of the Rings, whatever it is, and remember how that made you feel, and let a little bit of that personality start to seep into what you put out there into the world. And so while I can't recommend a book for anyone, I'd just say maybe rather than looking externally and trying to find the next thing that you have to read in order to change your mindset, is just look at the things that you already love and figure out why you love that stuff. So for me, the love of fantasy novels is because maybe I still believe in magic, and I think that there's goblins living in the hills. Maybe there's something beyond what we see. Maybe there's I love the idea of people. My favorite books were always when a normal person in a normal situation, a bit of a shit situation, and a little door opens and a talking cat will come out and lead that person into an adventure of another world that we're not quite sure of, but it exists just beyond what we can see. And that's a huge part of, I like to think it's a huge part of the personality and the content that I make, that little bit of surrealness and that little bit of magic and that little bit of weirdness that I want to bring into what I produce. So yeah, long story short, have a little look at what you're passionate about. As an example, I mean, I know I'm going past our allotted time, but there was a gentleman that I met when I was doing a talk a few weeks ago, and that was my first live talk. That was at a conference called Shots and Giggles, which is a new thing which has been started in by Hannah. Oh gosh, I'll have to give you the names. Hannah and Nicola, Shots and Giggles. They're targeting the mid-tier of weddings. So not Lake Como. Yeah. They're targeting the actual weddings that probably pay most of our bills. Nice weddings with nice people who've saved up a bit of money and they want to just have a lovely wedding, which I think is a nice gap in the market. But anyway, they asked me to come along and talk about social media for an hour. And afterwards I met this guy and he said that he heard what I said, because I said similar then. I said that I love my fantasy books, and he said he loved rom-coms. He loved rom-coms. He'd cry at the drop of a hat. He loved that kind of stuff, and he never knew how to bring it into his content. But after listening to me, he was going to try, and he had this idea that I won't spoil, but it was to do with. So, for example, I had an idea where your mum is always the first person to like your photographs on Facebook. So I had a little bit of a thing where mum would come in and save the day with a big thumbs up. And that was my funny little reel. And he had an idea of wedding photographs being important because mum's liking that picture. Oh God, it's making me emotional already. Mum's liking the picture. And then one day mum's not liking the picture. And, because mum's not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Bloody hell, I am actually making myself choke up. Excuse me.
All right.
But what I'm trying to say is that's a powerful thing for him because it's his personality. He loves stuff like that. He loves that. He loves to have a little cry. He likes the emotional side of things. And I don't think I could get away with that because I'm not trying to make people feel really emotional.
Yeah.
I want people to have a little laugh at me, at my expense. I want them to relate and I want them to see that, they can find their own voice. But for him, wow, that could be so on brand. He could open up a whole powerful avenue of tugging on those heartstrings about what photographs are and why they're so meaningful to people. Stuff that goes beyond the vibe and the aesthetic. Like, what are the photographs and why are they important? He could open up a whole year of content. He could post his photographs. He could talk about his photographs. He could talk about why they're important. And every now and again, he could drop in a powerful reel that tugs on the heartstrings. Doesn't have to do it every week. He could just drop one in every now and again. And you know what? He could just be that guy who takes awesome pictures. Those little videos get shared amongst couples on WhatsApp or whatever. And he's got a nice little thing carved out for himself because he's acknowledged that he loves to have a good cry. So that's what he's going to lean into. And I love that. And I'm so glad that he told me that idea because I'm never going to steal that for myself. But I like that one as a little example to kind of say, look, you can come at this from any angle that you want. I like my daft stuff. I like being the butt of the joke. I like being over dramatic and having disasters happen to me, and then responding in a ridiculous way, like throwing my camera bag into the garbage truck and it gets crushed and whatever happened. I like stupid over the top things, but you don't have to do that. You can go and find what makes you tick. So think about what you love, think about what your passions are and see how you could unlock something there. It's a little bit of self-exploration. I'm sure you just wanted a book title, but there you go.
No, that's awesome.
That was far more interesting than a big title.
That was the book angle. Maybe think
way
about
more,
the books.
Way more inspirational than a book.
I don't mean to be. But I just thought that was something really interesting that he mentioned, which I've shared with a few people now.
Well, maybe if you're listening out there and you've been listening to Andrew and an idea has been sparked in your mind, maybe
take
after
action.
that wedding you're driving to just now, maybe take action this week. Set that little goal for yourself, and if you're with a partner, tell them to remind you to do this or do it together.
So,
a couple of things. Where can people find you online?
So I am mostly on Instagram at the moment, which is at Andrew Keher, AndrewKeher, the 5-lettered surname that has caused me havoc all through my life. But I'm so glad I didn't go with, pretty ladybird photography or whatever, like everyone said I should do, because they say you've got a difficult name that no one can pronounce. But I don't know, it's kind of unique. There's only one of me. There's only one Andrew Keher in the world, which I think is quite cool.
Just Google them and you'll find them.
Yeah, you'll go there. Also, andrewkeher.co.uk. Have a look at my shiny website that I paid all that money for and haven't updated in 2 years now. But I'll get around to it, I promise. And I think I'm on TikTok, but I haven't posted I posted about 3 videos and gave up because after I'd gone through the baptism of fire of Instagram and I'd done that and I'd gone through the heartache, and then someone said, oh wow, your stuff will do really good on TikTok, and I posted one and it did really well. I think I got 1 million views or something, and then the next one got 5 views, like literally 5. And I thought, do you know what, I'm not, even though I'm telling everyone this, I'm not quite mentally prepared to do the whole 12-month thing on TikTok while I've got Instagram going. So I've abandoned that for now until I know what's going on. But yeah, Instagram, Facebook, if you want to be old school, you can go and find me on there. There's not much happening. I do like my community groups though, especially the local community groups when the bins don't get emptied. That's quite fun.
You just like that drama. You like that drama.
You'll find me. You'll find me on Instagram. I'm there. I'm hanging around on there.
Awesome. And people can find us at the most generic 2 names, Perspective by Cinemate. that's very generic. But hey, we've been going for that for so long. It's fine. It is what it is. Instagram at Perspective by Cinemate. Thank you to With Jack for sponsoring this episode. And if you have liked this conversation as much as we have liked making it for you, you can subscribe on our YouTube and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one. However,
in the meantime,
enjoy your life.